plants and how they survive and what characteristics they have that allows them to do this. So today I'm reading you a book. It's off of the EPIC website, and it's called How Do Plants Survive? So here it is. And this is the table of contents, and this tells you what page you can find each one of these subcategories that you want to learn about. So today we're going to start right at the beginning with Plants Are Alive. And this is by Kelly McAuley, and this is a nonfiction book. And this book is going to teach you about plants. So that's why it's nonfiction, because it's about something that's real. All right, here we go. Plants are alive. Plants are living things. All plants need air, sunlight, and water to stay alive. Each part of a plant does a job to help it stay alive and grow. A job to do. A plant's roots take in water from the soil. The roots hold the plant in the ground. The plant stem brings water and food to other parts of the plant. It can also store food and water. So you can see right here, the labels, that's the stem. Down here, those are the roots, and then the soil that the plant is in. A plant's leaves make food using sunlight, air, and water. Seeds grow in flowers and fruits. Seeds become new plants. Here's the labels right here. You can see the leaves. You can see those are the seeds inside the fruit, and this is called a kiwi fruit. That's the type of fruit it is. So on this page, we learned that each part of a plant has a job to do. And the stem, for example, brings that water and food up the plant. The roots also pull in water, but it holds the plant in place. Staying alive. A habitat is the natural place where an animal or a plant lives. Animals and plants live in habitats where they can get the things they need to survive. Animals can move around to find food, water, and shelter. Plants cannot move around to find food or water. They must survive in the place where they are growing. Different plants use their parts in different ways to help them survive and grow in their habitats. So plants can't move around once they're in the ground. That's where they stay. So now they have certain characteristics that will help them survive in that place. This is about dry deserts. Cacti are desert plants. Deserts are hot, sandy places with little rain. Cacti have long, shallow roots. Shallow roots are not deep underground. They soak up a lot of water when it rains. So here's the label here. It's showing you that these are cacti. Cacti also have thick, waxy stems that hold in water. They store the water in their stems to use when there is no rain. A round barrel cactus can store a lot of water. So a couple of these plants, some of their characteristics that they have that help them survive. First, they have shallow roots. That means their roots do not go very deep in the ground. So when it does rain, it soaks up that water right away. It also says over here that they have waxy stems. And the waxy stem is what holds in water. And then this cacti right here has a lot of water inside of it. So we can underline a couple of the characteristics: shallow roots and thick, waxy stems. Those are two characteristics that help this plant thrive in the desert. All right, let's go to the next page. In the tundra. The tundra is land at the top of Earth near the North Pole. It is very cold with strong winds. Tundra plants, such as this purple saxifrage, must stay out of cold winds. They grow low to the ground and close together. Some tundra plants have fuzzy hairs on their stems and leaves to protect them from the cold. So let's look at some of the characteristics of this plant that lives in the tundra. So we have, I'm going to erase that. So it says that these purple saxifrage, I believe they're called, they have to stay out of the wind. So this is what they do. They grow low to the ground and close together. That way they can survive. Also, one characteristic of this plant is they have these fuzzy hairs. You can see the hairs right here, all these white hairs. You see them all? So those white hairs, they protect the stem and the leaves from the cold. So that's another characteristic that helps this plant thrive where it lives. The hot forests. All right, let me erase this. Here we go. Rainforests are hot places. There is a lot of sunlight in these forests, but it also rains almost every day. The sunlight and rain make it easy for many trees to grow tall. You can see these tall trees. So this thing that we're looking at right here is called a photograph. It's a real picture, and that's another way that we know that this is a nonfiction book. Tall trees in rainforests block sunlight from reaching the forest floor. Vines are plants that can climb. They attach to trees and climb up them to reach the sunlight. So one characteristic of a vine is that it can attach itself to a tree and then it climbs right up them. That way they can reach the sunlight. You can see these vines right here. They're going up, 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 all the way up to the top of the tree to get that sunlight so they can survive. This is called 4 seasons. In some places, trees change as the seasons change. Spring and summer are warm, sunny seasons. Trees grow many leaves and make a lot of food. The trees store some of the food for colder weather. Autumn and winter are colder seasons. There is less sunlight. Leaves cannot make food. They change color and fall to the ground. The trees use their stored food to stay alive until spring. So another characteristic of these trees. Let's see. So here it says the trees use their stored food to stay alive until spring. So they store their food in their trunk and their branches, and so they stay alive, and then in the spring they get their leaves back. Underwater plants. Some plants can grow underwater. Underwater plants grow in shallow water. Shallow water is not very deep. Sunlight can shine through shallow water to the plants. Some animals, such as manatees, eat the plants. Kelp are plants that grow in oceans near the shore. Kelp attach to rocks on the ocean floor. They have long stems that reach sunlight near the water's surface. So a characteristic of the plant that's called kelp is they attach themselves to rocks in the ocean floor, and that way, and then their long stems reach up towards the sunlight near the surface. You can see right here, it's showing you a picture of the kelp. and how it's going up to the sunlight. So that's a characteristic of that plant. It has a long stem so it can get the sunlight that it needs to survive underwater. This is called wetland plants. In a wetland, oh, you see that word? It's bold. I'm going to click on it. It tells me the definition. I can click on it. It says wetland, land or areas as marshes or swamps having much soil moisture, usually used in plural. So wetland. Those are bold words. Those are important words. In a wetland, the land is covered with water. Water lilies grow in wetlands. They have long stalks that hold their leaves and flowers above the water. The stalks grow from a stem buried in the mud below. So you can see that one of the characteristics of the water lily is that they have long stalks that hold their leaves and flowers above the water. So without that long stalk, they wouldn't be able to survive in the water. And if we wanted to know what a stalk is,
stalk.
It says it's a slender upright object or supporting or connecting structure. And then here, number 2, it says a plant stem, especially of a plant that is not woody. So it doesn't have like the trunk of a plant. All right. Mangrove trees also grow in wetlands. Parts of their roots grow up out of the water. The wide roots keep the trees from falling over. The roots also take in air. Ooh. So we have a couple of characteristics of this mangrove tree. So here's the mangrove tree. There's a picture of it right here. You can see its roots, how it's above the ground. So it says the roots grow up out of the water, and that is to keep the trees from falling over. And then the roots also take in air. So it says also take in air. So that's a characteristic of this tree, is these roots that grow above the ground. And that way they can get lots of air, and it helps the tree from falling over. Open grasslands. Grasslands are open, flat areas of land. Strong winds blow across grasslands. Grasses in grasslands have long roots growing deep in the ground. The long roots hold the grasses in place. So here, some characteristics of the grasses in the grasslands, they have to have these long roots because they grow deep in the ground. And then those long roots hold the grasses in place. Here is a baobab tree. Not sure if I said that right. They grow in hot, dry grasslands. They only grow leaves when there is water. When it is dry, the trees survive using stored water in their large trunks or stem. Can you see how large that trunk is? Also known as the stem. That's where all the water is because they don't have leaves on this tree when it's dry out. So a characteristic of this tree, the baobab tree, is they only grow leaves when there is water. And when there's not water, they store water in their big, large trunk or stems. All right, so that was the end of our story about how do plants survive